You know, one thing that I appreciate about Twitter is you get to have random, basic arguments with strangers nonstop. And the crazy part is, sometimes they prove things to yourself that you already knew, but then because you're arguing it forces you to go 10 times deeper into it to really unearth what it is that you've discovered. And let me just be clear. Troy Weaver actually did a phenomenal job. I want to dive into that in this video, especially as we look at the state of the current Pistons, who are above 500, 20 and 19, having a complete turnaround season under head coach JB Bickerstaff, and a lot of credit is being given to Trajan Langdon. I'm not saying take away his flowers. I am saying maybe we should reevaluate it in terms of what he's already building on that somebody else did. And as much as we want to praise one guy, it doesn't mean we have to shame and, ish on the other guy. So I want to dive into that in this video. But before I do, this video is brought to you by Bridges and Stones Family and Relationship Care. You know, sometimes in the past I can recall struggling with my mental health, relationships, and different things going on in my life. And for the most part, I kept it all to myself. But when I look back, I think about all the opportunities that I may have had to get the support that I needed so that I can move forward, so that I could overcome some of those difficulties and challenges. Contact Bridges and Stones today for a free consultation for an opportunity to work with a trained professional coach to help you to work through your challenges that you may be dealing with today. None of us make it alone. The link is in the description box below. You know, the reason why I appreciate doing this video is because when I look at this team, especially I look at the game last night against the Toronto Raptors, who I would have to say are a far better team than their record suggests, because they've been decimated by injuries. I mean, decimated. Everyone in their starting lineup, bench unit, all their veterans have been hurt, and their record reflects it. They have stunk it up. And in a lot of the Raptors Twitter spaces, you just hear people complaining about their Toronto Raptors. And I keep reminding them, hey, nobody wins when everyone is injured. It doesn't matter. You can't evaluate anything outside of maybe is somebody just injury prone. That's it. You can't evaluate the system. You can't evaluate the chemistry. You can't evaluate even the general manager, front office. I mean, maybe if they brought in an injury plagued person and then they get injured and then all of a sudden it's like, well, that's what they've always been. I get it. But that's a beautiful reflection, meaning these Toronto Raptors are a beautiful reflection of the Detroit Pistons from just the last couple of seasons. How many long-term injuries did they have to their team that continue to pile up? And it didn't matter how many veterans that they brought in, because one of the arguments I got into, this guy was saying like Troy Weaver, he didn't bring in any support for Cade Cunningham, and I was like, really? Well, let me just go ahead and check these rosters from the past couple of seasons with Cade Cunningham under Troy Weaver, and then all of a sudden I started thinking, I was like, wait a second, he brought in mad support. But there was a lot of injuries. And so then I think back, okay, well, just who did he bring in? And the guy was, complaining about, he was saying, hey, you know what? He didn't bring any bigs that could shoot. I said, no bigs that could shoot. Okay, well, let me just think about this. Who were some bigs that were brought in? Well, I know Marvin Bagley the third. I guess he's not known as a shooter. He could shoot, but I guess you can qualify that as a non-shooter. But let me scroll on down a little bit. Well, Sadiq Bey is about 6'8", played that forward position, shot volume 3-pointers. Oh, hey, hold on. Bojan Bogdanovic, another shooter that fills it up. Okay, well, let me just keep going. Well, Corey Joseph is a pretty decent shooter. Well, Kevin Knox is a known shooter. Braxton Key was a really solid shooter. Okay, well, let me look at it. Oh, Isaiah Livers was known as a shooter. Okay, got it. All right. So, well, even Isaiah Stewart became a shooter. We didn't expect that. Stanley Amude actually was above league average as a shooter, but none of these guys are necessarily like, big time elite shooters. So maybe that's what he's talking about. Just not enough of a veteran presence and, guys couldn't really fill in the roles that Tim Hardaway Jr. and Malik Beasley and Simone Fontecchio and Tobias Harris are doing. Okay, maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case. But then I think to myself, well, how much better is Tobias Harris than Jeremy Grant? Okay, how much better is Tobias Harris than Bojan Bogdanovic was? They put up pretty similar stats. Okay, well, maybe I take a look at the rest of these guys. So then I started looking at, well, hold on a second. Troy Weaver did bring in Simone Fontecchio, who was lights out. Wait, he even brought in Evan Fournier. Wait, then he brought in Danilo Gallinari. Oh, then he brought in Quentin Grimes, who is balling for the Dallas Mavericks right now, who are a contending championship team. Then he brought in Joe Harris, a career-known volume three-point shooter who's supposed to be a decent defender. Isn't that Tim Hardaway Jr.'s role? Wait, Joe Harris is also 6'6". Oh, okay. So he's actually bigger than Tim Hardaway Jr., known for defense and being a volume three-point shooter. Oh, okay. And then you still have Kevin Knox. You still have Isaiah Livers. You still have Chimezie Metu. You still have Monty Morris, who's played on championship teams from the Detroit area, who's known to be able to knock down consistent shots. Oh, hold a second. Then you got Mike Muscala. Y'all get the point that I'm making here? Do y'all actually get the point that I'm making here? Is that Troy Weaver did everything that Trajan Langdon is doing. In fact, he was far busier doing it. Matter of fact, he was bringing in guys nonstop. And when the season seemed to be at a loss, he did actually what every good front office, general manager, team president is supposed to do. He pivoted. He said, okay, look, we're not getting it done. We're not turning this thing around. So let's go ahead and do a nice little tank, get us a high draft pick, which ended up being guys like Asar Thompson, Ron Holland, right? So it actually paid off. This team that the current Detroit Pistons have is largely due because of the maneuverings of Troy Weaver. Let's be 100% clear. Okay, JB Bickerstaff, great pickup. You know I love JB. I'm not saying that, what's my man's name? Kevin Ollie would have been the next JB Bickerstaff. I'm not saying that at all. We don't know. I do know that Kevin Ollie worked with Asar Thompson in the league that he played in for high school. I do know that he was highly touted as a high-level developmental coach, someone who had worked with a lot of young guys who loved working with him when he was, I believe, at, what was it, Georgetown or UConn? No, I think it was Georgetown. No, it might have been UConn, one of those two, right? So I know that there was a lot of raving fanfare by players and other coaches alike about Kevin Ollie's potential. I know that he would have been dedicated to guys like Jaden Ivey. I don't think he would have had to been convinced to start him. In fact, if you have Cade Cunningham healthy in that second season playing alongside Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren, I don't even think we get the fallout over the past couple of seasons. But of course, your best player got hurt for the entire year. So that also impacts the record. And last season, how many other veterans got hurt? Monty Morris was injured almost the entire time. Quentin Grimes was coming in off of injury and was never able to find his rhythm, despite contributing in a positive way to wins in other areas, which was a great sign that he was an asset that they should have kept. Simone Fontecchio did exactly what they needed him to do. Guys like Mike Muscala and Danilo Gallinari did a great job for them. Bojan Bogdanovic, when he was there, did a great job for the Detroit Pistons. But other guys were dealing with injuries. Asar Thompson at the back end of the season ended up having the blood clots, right? There's a lot of calamity that you cannot assess this team on based upon, and you cannot assess Troy Weaver on for the things that were completely out of his control. Another guy was talking about the reclamation projects, Hamidou Diallo and Marvin Bagley and James Wiseman and RJ Hampton, all these guys. And I'm looking at, I'm like, and Frank Jackson, and I'm like, yo, all these guys were high level athletes coming out of high school, top of their class, top of a incredibly deep classes, extremely athletic, versatile guys that were more than worth taking a flyer on, especially because you're getting them for the minimum. You're getting them on their rookie deals. Like what are we talking about? The whole slander of Troy Weaver needs to stop. It just needs to stop. Period. If you're slandering Troy Weaver still, that's because you're a casual. Because you're caught up in the little ESPN turnstile media wave that just looks to find somebody to point a finger at. Shoot, usually these African American coaches, and just say, "Hey, they suck, and that's why they're gone," or this guy's terrible, and they just oversimplify the whole thing instead of actually acknowledging that there are things that happen completely out of your control. All that to say is shout out to the Pistons for getting the win against the Raptors. Those Raptors are a whole lot better than what the record shows, like I mentioned earlier at the beginning, largely because of the injuries. Darko Rajakovic, the coach, you don't really know what he could do yet until everyone gets healthy. But I'll tell you this, though. Those Raptors fought. Those Raptors fought last night. I watched that game, and when I like to watch the game, I like to watch it either after or if I watch it in real time, I'll watch it again so that I can really slow things down and watch what's happening. That Raptors team could have easily beat the Pistons. They were playing great defense. I mean, great defense. Maybe not RJ Barrett, but between Quickly, Scotty Barnes, Jakob, they had really good size, which gives the Pistons a lot of headache, a lot of trouble when teams have a lot of size, especially when they're able to put Scotty Barnes at the point of attack. On defense, he slowed down everything by himself. Cade Cunningham was not able to get off. Marcus Sasser was not able to get off. He was blocking both of their shots, forcing them into tough shots. And really, who saved them? The veterans. Tobias Harris. Tim Hardaway Jr. had a great game. Guys like Malik Beasley, even Simone Fontecchio had a really good game. The veterans saved him. But just imagine if those veterans had all been injured. Just imagine. If you didn't have a Tim Hardaway Jr. and a Malik Beasley. Imagine if you didn't have a Tobias Harris, a la Bojan Bogdanovic, a la Joe Harris and Monty Morris. Imagine if you didn't have those guys. Things probably would have went a lot different. But as always, I want to know what you all think. Get at me in the comment section. Let me know what you think. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'm going to get at y'all next time. Peace.